It's absolutely a pleasure for you to join us again for Bev's Open House. And I am absolutely thrilled with our guest today, who's Cathy Adams. Cathy is she's the president and the CEO of the Oakland Chamber of Commerce, but she's also an extremely distinguished businesswoman in and of herself. I was laughing. I said, with CDA Consulting, all events management and all of that. And I said, well, Cathy, I'm not trying to actually date people on this program. I said, but when I see that you have been so successful for over 25 years with your own business, I said, well, I'm going to say something about that. But no, just doing tremendous things, and honestly, with the work that you all have stepped up at the Oakland Black Chamber during the pandemic with small businesses, really want to spend a lot of time on that, but just your whole history, how you started. You went to Jackson State and you got a degree in mass communications, but
Yeah.
honestly, you seems to me you were pretty clear about what your trajectory was going to be from the beginning. Okay, and I'm saying, so Cathy, you take it away and just start.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Scott, and I'm happy to be here with you today. And yes, it started early. When I was growing up in Meridian, Mississippi, my dad, even at the time, I didn't realize that that was entrepreneurship. My dad was a independent contractor, so I was already seeing entrepreneurship even before I even knew what it was. So when my dad would come home for the weekends, when they had different jobs, in surrounding areas near Meridian, they get together every Friday, and that was like their little meeting ground after they come from a long week of work. But I would always go downstairs and talk to my dad because he was always working on something. And I used to tell him, when I get big, I'm going to California. And he was said, "Oh, gal," my nickname was Cootie Cat. And he said, "Oh, you're not going to California, Cootie Cat." And I said, "Oh, yes, I am. I am going to California." So I think it started then. My mom would bring magazines home from the grocery store, and I'd look at them with my sister. And I said, "Everything is beautiful in California." My sister would always say, "It must be in the water." And we just was so excited about California. So fast forward, when it was time to pick schools, I actually was going to Mississippi State, and I had a boyfriend that he was going to go to Ohio State. And 2 weeks before I was going to school, he said, "I'm going to Jackson State." And I said, "Well, no, we can't go to the same schools. How are we going to know if we really want to be together?" So I've always been kind of mature beyond my years. So 2 weeks before it was time for me to go to school, I actually changed to go to Jackson State. So it was a blessing to be there at the school. So I met our department head, which was Dr. Marsha Cleanscales. So she worked on a number of projects, including Stanford University. And she was always traveling different places, working on different projects while she was part of Jackson State's faculty. So she connected with the Northern California Black Chamber of Commerce. And that's where she was able to arrange for me to interview. And I got an internship at the then Northern California Black Chamber of Commerce. So the chamber has been around longer than the 17 years since Bob Jackson started, but the original founder was Oscar J. Coffey, now deceased, and Peter Jackson. So when I say I've been here a long time, I've been here a long time. But fast forward, I ended up getting a job with the chamber. Well, I got a job, Dr. Scott. They had given me a job as secretary, right? And I said, "I can't go back to Mississippi and tell people I'm a secretary." So I tell this because this is where we learn when we have to take baby steps, because they help to build our future and our trajectory. So I called the printing company at 22 years old, telling them that I wanted them to change my title to administrative assistant, because I was like, that to me sounded like it was a bigger role. Well, needless to say, when I got my business cards and Mr. Coffee gave them to me, it said secretary. And I looked at the card and I was like almost in tears. And he was from New Orleans. And he said, "Young lady, one day you will have your own business and you're going to need to know how long it takes to do stuff. So you're secretary for now." So I was very ambitious. So I went from secretary to administrative assistant to convention marketing rep to senior marketing rep and then project manager. So I would work for the chamber for 9 years. And then when I left there, I went to Del Monte Corporation. I had some personal things that had happened in my life, and I just needed to be where I could have a job, but just get through the crisis of what I was dealing with. A very dear friend of mine had passed away, so that was a difficult time for me. So I negotiated me a package for 6 months. And then I told myself I had 6 months to either get a job or go into business. So that was when you didn't have all these fancy computers. You had the typewriter connected with that big ET monitor. And I would wake out the bed, and my desk was in my 1-bedroom condo, and my head would hit it when I wake up. But that was the start of CDA
Oh my
Consulting Group.
God. Oh my God.
And
Now,
the rest is like history, because I don't know how much time we got, but I'm just giving like the short versions. And so, needless to say, I did my first insurance, get the first opening for Keys Insurance in City Center. And I learned from the beginning, I didn't want to be a caterer, I didn't want to be a florist, and I didn't want to be setting up any bars. So I did this, and all of the who's who of Oakland was there at the opening. So that's sort of like the history. And with the CDA piece, being in business for 25 years plus, and now having to be adapted to what we're dealing with now, the pivoting, has worked. But I used to tell everybody, we do everything, Dr. Scott, except weddings. I don't do
okay.
weddings.
You don't do weddings. You don't want what is they call it? Bridezilla.
No, I don't want Bridezilla, and I don't want anybody saying pink versus future. And I said this, and
No.
none of that. So the rest is kind of history, because I guess you can see and you can tell that and you've been to some events that we plan.
Yeah.
We're very passionate about the work that we do. And now it's actually a major at certain schools. You would be surprised how many calls I get from individual students that actually are majoring in event planning. So
Mhm.
that's sort of like on my little bucket list, is to create a model to train individuals to be professional event planners. I created Powerful Women of the Bay, which I created about 11 years ago. And that's a project
Mm.
that I created, where we recognize a diverse group of women in the C-suite. And the reason that I want to do that, because March is Women's History Month, and then
Mm.
it's an opportunity for younger millennials, Gen Xers, and whatever, to see even individuals like yourself that have really done work in these various professions, and sort of like empower them to uplift them. So everything that I've done had to do with that piece, but that's kind of like in the small version.
Cathy, what was it like? You handled the 50th anniversary for the Black Panther Party. Okay. And I read that and I said, oh my God. Okay. Cathy, what was that like?
Let me tell you something. If I move back a few little inches, this piano that's in the back of me was given to me by Elaine Brown, who was the chairwoman, the first chairwoman of the Black Panther Party. I have a couple of pictures there for her. So when I met Elaine Brown, as they were in development stages of planning, and that was in 2016, I had the time flies. Um, they I was able to be introduced to all of these Black Panthers. If I told you, I couldn't even tell all the stories, but with working with them and not growing up in Oakland, California, all of the work that they did, even the one that was nearest dear to me, was their breakfast program, but also their program around sickle cell.
Mm.
My sister, who I'm very blessed to have, that my older sister is 62 years old and still living and doing very well. The Black Panther Party, they were one of the groups that brought it to the forefront. A lot of parents didn't even know what these kids had or what they was experiencing. So when I read that and all of the stories about what they did around sickle cell outreach was just phenomenal. And
Mm.
all of the time that I spent with Elaine Brown and all of the stories where they worked with Huey Newton and how they set up all of these health centers. And I love the story when she said Dr. Huey Newton would say, "We need a clinic here in LA," and he would go pick the building. And I think the statutory law for some of these things have passed. But I'm going to tell one of my favorite stories because I don't know. I'm hoping that they're passed, but it is what it is. And one of the stories that I remember was that the Black Panthers, they were always thinking entrepreneurship. So we know that they fought for the, injustices against our community and all of that equality for our people. We're still living that right now in the Black Panthers. I wish we could revive them all, but they were all about, when they say power to the people, they were always about the people no matter what. But one of the stories in the many nights that I worked late and long and hard working on that, and I have wonderful footage and videos, how they all sang together, and they came from all over the world because they had Black Panther Party groups in Europe, and they had people all over the entire world. And when they got together on the steps of City Hall and seeing all of them sing together and just thousands of them on the steps, for that historical moment, when they were trying to free Huey Newton.
Oh my.
And, of course, I wasn't here. And just learning about, all of that and everything that they were doing back there in the 60s was just phenomenal.
You have, if I know you must know it, but everything just about that I know when I go to your events, and I know they're a Cathy event, always when, but Cathy, there is such a community, but there's such a community spirit and purpose to me. It's not that people are not having a good time, but really every event that I can think of, whether it was gay, lesbian, da da da, whether it was, like you said, I've been to Powerful Women several times, the work you've done with the 100 Black
Yeah,
women.
and Madam C.J. Walker, so you're absolutely correct. I always have this vision in my head that we party with a purpose. So almost every event that I do, there's a benefit for it, whether it's education or whether with the Madam C.J. Walker, we just had that, and we had over 500 people with that Zoom. And that right there actually supported our positive steps in our scholarship program. And we just recently had our scholarship program this past Saturday, where we gave out over 15 scholarships. I'm estimating roughly around 15. And even though we know with COVID-19, our businesses have been marginalized for a long time due to systemic racism. And even though we've had a lot of businesses that have closed, I'm proud to say that as president of the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce, we started the resiliency fund that you had talked to me several times on the phone about. We started that to raise money so that we could provide grants to Black-owned businesses in that are members of the chamber. So we raised over $1.1 million, and we gave out 160 grants during phase one. All of those companies have their money in the bank. And then we had about $350,000 left. But we started that because our businesses were not getting the funds from the PPP. But from your experiences that a lot of our businesses have got to put the work in, Dr. Scott, to make sure that everything underneath, it's just like back in the day when people would make dresses and you'd be, oh, the dress is beautiful. And then when you pull it up, all the seams are
I know that's right.
Jack, everything's jacked up, but on the outside it looked pretty.
Yeah.
And you may not be able to wear it but one time. So what we've been doing is providing technical training, access to capital, any tools that we could get that's going to be able to enhance those businesses. I'm pleased to say that the majority of our businesses were able to pivot. They were able to utilize the ecosystems with other related businesses.
Mhm.
If a catering company is not using her kitchen on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then she will allow another business to use the kitchen, or if anybody had a brick and mortar. So all of those things, which I could go on and on in terms of how we pivoted and how we were able to utilize each other, which, you know, we should have been working together for a long time. And we know our community have experienced a lot, you know, with the protest and everything else, and where all people were experienced. But I think we were hit the hardest in terms of our businesses and not really having all of the access to capital. So I'm happy about that. I'm also happy too that the U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce voted the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce as Chamber of the Year. So that's what we got to do. We just got to be able to help put our resources out there. That's what my job is for the chamber, primarily to advocate for our businesses. We are connected to the community, yes, but I will be the first to tell you, Dr. Scott, we can't fight everything. We want to have a voice. We want to be counted. We want to be included. But I've got to be very strategic in terms of what my role is, because after all, the chamber job is pretty much like a part-time job. It doesn't feel like that because I just feel like, you know, Mr. Coffee is smiling down on me right now to be an intern and now the president and CEO. I don't take it lightly at all. And I look at it as a way to give back, because even though I have a business too, but the chamber was like my saving grace, because the whole time from March to now, all I've been doing is helping these businesses. And when they call and they say, Cathy, I think I'm gonna have to go out of business. I said, no, we're not gonna go out of business. We're gonna figure out what we need to do. We have retail companies. Hey, they've been making masks. One of our members is in
I saw that.
again, Gazette magazine now. Prince Harry had on one of her masks, and the masks are selling like everywhere. The restaurants are doing pop-ups. Some of them are doing them on the weekends. You know, I had to stop so much because I was, you know, doing FaceTime live with these restaurants, and I was like, shoot, I gotta stop eating all this food. But I said, if I go, I need to say, y'all, everybody, come on, y'all come down here. But that's what we've been doing. So even though we've lost a lot of lives and the sadness of even close friends of ours that experienced COVID, I just tell people I continue to just pray, you know, for peace, deliverance, and make sure that we all can get through it. But the people still got to eat and they still got to feed their families. And so that's what we're committed to. And I'm just hoping that this next wave of grants, that they make it to the bank accounts of these individuals by December 1st, because we still want to be able to celebrate. Even with the holidays that are coming, we have so much to be thankful for.
And you know, well, like you were saying, I tell people, it's not that there has not been progress. Okay. I said, but let me just say this. I said, but we have had personal accomplishment. Okay. There are numbers of us that Black people that you can look at, and sure, it was not my personal accomplishment, but personal accomplishment is one thing. Collective success is another. And
I like that.
that's
collective
what I'm about.
success.
And that is what we have not achieved. In fact, that's where the numbers, that's what lets you know that this stuff is persistent, is systemic. And so I tell people, I say, I'm like you. I said, look, we can always move forward, and that's where we have to go. So everybody's in the world of, DEI. Okay. I said, well, please don't call this an initiative. This is not an initiative. Okay. This is unfinished business that we really have as a country. And the only way that we're going to do it is together. That's another thing, Cathy, all the work that you're doing at the chamber with youth to really get them engaged in everything, because I'm really trying to make sure that I hear the voice of young people, okay? Because really,
Yes.
the legacy that in many respects we've left them, the environment, the all of that is really leaves a lot to be desired, okay? And I'm saying, and the work that you're doing at the chamber to really actively engage young people and stuff like that, I think it's absolutely fabulous.
Well, we're truly excited about that. We've got a couple of programs that we're trying to get off the ground with the Berkeley Haas School, and we're hoping to get, more younger people, like I said, involved, even with the Oakland PAC, because we want to hear their voices. And I don't necessarily want to get in the whole politics piece, but it's good. We definitely have our PAC that was very instrumental this year in a lot of, forums and debates. But it is imperative, which we are moving in that direction, to have some of the younger people to actually be on the board,
Yeah.
because that's the only way that you're going to do it. I tell people all the time, how do we pass the baton to others? And that's the piece that is going to be very, very critical. So when we start approaching 2021, I'll make sure that most of our board members now will be utilized for the different council meetings, because I've been on the Community and Economic Development call, the Rules Committee. It's a lot to digest. And I think some of the members that we have that are contractors and stuff, getting them with some board seats and then having different committees. And that way, as we say, we can have eyes on the floor. And
Yep.
then my job is to pull that information together, channel it through our members, and channel it through our board of directors.
Kathy, now this is the last two. And then I want you. This has been fabulous. I want you to, if you could say to a young person in terms of their career and what, think about yourself talking to yourself 30 years ago, okay? And what would you say to Kathy if you looking at Kathy, say, little Kathy, all right, little Kathy, now this is what I would tell. These are
You
some
know,
words of wisdom that I would give you.
the words of wisdom. And if I had to talk to myself 30 plus years ago, um, it's not a whole lot I would do differently, but there are some things that I would have told myself a lot sooner, that with some of the training that I got from the individuals, that I could have created a program or a young entrepreneurship, even though they have entrepreneurship centers, I would have created just an entrepreneurship program, and it's still not too late, where it coaches and help develop young entrepreneurs. So what I say to young people that are interested in business, just as I said before, stay true and understand the difference between passion and a hobby.
Okay.
Hobbies don't always make money, and you still got to be able to make a living. And, I have hobbies too, but those are not businesses that I'm interested in going with. And actually, some of the hobbies that I have, I actually could go into business, but I'm not interested in being a florist. That's one of my little part-time hobbies, is doing floral arrangements. But I have supported individuals. I've helped to groom businesses. So what I say to a young person is that if you have a job now, and let's just say it's a side hustle or a side passion that you have, get your plan in order and have it. Because if you're not committed, if you're not one of these people that's overly ambitious and a hard worker, you're going to run into some bumps. So I have worked with a number of entrepreneurs that are still in business today that I mentored. And what I tell them is that when you're at your job, that is just something where you can learn tools, that you can learn stuff. Um, I didn't get here by not being affiliated. Dr. Scott, I was in junior league when I was 25.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
I was going out to a render and I had to tell myself, these are some of those women were retired people or, housewives or were married to doctors and everything. And they cared about their community and they did a lot of training. But I wouldn't have been able to start Powerful Women of the Bay. So, not to digress, for the young people, stay true to your passion, work hard. Whatever it is that you're doing, you be good at that. Don't, it's okay when they say jack of all trades. You can't be effective and do everything. Stay true to who you are. And when your parents are trying to tell you, I'm not a parent, but when your parent is trying to talk to you, they're trying to help you. They're not trying to change your creativeness. They're trying to help you so that when you get to that point, you don't always have to bump your head to get the lesson. Just listen. And
Yeah.
it's okay for these millennials that working with all these major corporations. That may not be there forever. And when it change, I want you to be kind to people, working with people that you're managing and that you're younger and they're older. Just be respectful, because somebody once said, when you're plowing the fields, you need an old mule and you need a young mule to be able to make it work. So that's pretty much, it's not hard to do. It's just about staying committed. Don't let attitude, personality get mad at your supervisor. Stay focused on why you're there and have your goal. I'm kind of happy with where I am. And I think that the unfulfilled things that I wasn't able to do, I think that the chamber is allowing me to be a vessel to work through the chamber to help others. So I feel like it's that plant with all of those roots. And I feel like as they're growing and they're coming out and they're blossoming, I think that's me helping others to get to where they need to go. I used to beat myself up, but I feel as long as I could do a little something to make a difference in a few, I've got to feel good about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
we won't be able to save them all, and we can lead y'all, but we can't make you drink. But I'm just saying, people open up their eyes from it in a different way now.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is the narrative. What did you call this? Collective success will take
Collective
place if we
success.
work
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Yeah. You, Kathy, I mean, honestly, it's been so wonderful. When you're talking, I'm just thinking the same when you were, there was he's been passed for years, first African American board member in Houston Metro. And he used to tell me, his name was Albert E. Hopkins, and he was a pharmacist in Acres Home. Okay. And he used to tell me, he said, we're not going to change race relations in the United States. He said, but I can tell you one thing. He said, we're going to do everything that we can to wind up improving things on our watch. You know, his thing was, I'm not going to try to say that we're going to change everything. But as long as we are where we are and we have an opportunity to do what we can do, we are going to make a difference. Okay. And I'm saying, and that's the way, these things are, they're baby steps, big steps, whole blocks. And I tell people a lot of times, like, I'm not taking anything away from, I want you to go march in Washington, but the fight starts in your own house, your own street, your own neighborhood, our own communities, our own
and policy.
policy.
Marching with no plan gets the attention, absolutely, but it comes with our vote and it comes with policy and
Yep.
impact and change. Because I tell people, don't get mad and let's go tear up a whole bunch of stuff, but fight with your voices
Yep.
and fight with your voices and impact change through policy.
Kathy, thank you. And I know you
Well,
always.
I appreciate it. Look, I'm gonna get a quick picture of you. So thank you again
Oh,
for this opportunity. I'm very happy about it.
and I'm very honored to also be a member of the chamber. So God bless you. Take care. Thank you. And it's all because of you. Okay.
Thank you again.
Take care. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Alrighty.
Okay, have a good one. Thank
You
you.
too.